Hello, friends. I hope you're doing well. Raquel here from Our Infinite Nature, back with Sarah from Expansive Consulting and Hella Fluid Collective, here to share about the energies of the upcoming Virgo new moon on September 2nd. If you're here in the US, it might be September 3rd if you're in the UK or Australia, time zones, things like that. So we're going to dive in. I'm going to share a little bit about the energetics that I'm feeling around this particular lunation. And then Sarah will share more about some of the astrological transits, of which there are a few with this new moon in Virgo. I always like to start off these moon videos with identifying the theme that I intuited for that particular lunation. And the theme that kept coming up for me for this Virgo new moon is trusting in your alignment, trusting that you are where you're actually meant to be, even if that place feels challenging, even if that place feels like I don't actually really want to be here, trusting that you're there for your alignment in this here and now moment. And let's talk a little bit about Virgo, shall we?
Let's do it.
Virgo is my north node, which means I am meant to become more Virgonian. I don't think that's a word, but we'll go for it, Sarah. In my life. And it is a challenge. It's a challenge for me, which often our north nodes are a challenge. But another theme of this particular lunation is to recognize that our challenges are always portals for growth, always portals for expansion. Just like our north node, while it feels challenging, is our portal for our soul's greatest growth and expansion in this lifetime. Just so happens my north node is Virgo, so this works perfectly. So, talking a little bit about Virgo, I think sometimes Virgo kind of gets like a little bit of a bad rap, a little bit of a bad reputation for being like super controlling and perfectionist and detail oriented. But in truth, Virgo is that mutable earth sign, which means Virgo actually has a lot more adaptability, a lot more flexibility than they're often given credit for. And I think sometimes Virgo is kind of given this like controlling energy, or people tell Virgo they're this way, because I think Virgo sees really clearly more efficient ways to do things.
Right.
And sometimes it can get a little frustrated because how come nobody else sees it like I see it?
Right, right. And I also feel like there's a little sense of like envy as well, so there's just a little bit of bitterness that can get passed on to Virgos.
Oh, you mean
And
others are envious of
a
Virgo?
little bit, yeah, of how they
Yeah.
can be so organized, be so detail oriented, because obviously it's helpful. But it's not everybody's jig.
It's hard for
So
me. That's why I
yeah.
love working with you, Sarah.
My Jupiter's in Virgo, which actually Jupiter's not very happy in Virgo. Um,
Yeah, because
I'm
Jupiter's
happy
like,
with my Jupiter in Virgo.
well, it
I
works for you.
expand through organization. I
That's
mean,
beautiful.
you know, so
Well, and that actually reminds me a little bit of Virgo energy because, Virgo is like all earth signs. Virgo is really good at taking something that's more energetic, more etheric, and actually making it physical. So, manifesting, like actually
yeah.
manifesting things into reality. Earth signs are all really, really good at that because that is the element of earth, right?
Right.
Um, and I think with Virgo, they also are really good at discernment. They're really like I don't actually like the word discipline. For me, the word discipline is kind of constrictive. So I like to use the word dedicated because dedicated feels like a really expansive word for me. So I like to think of Virgo as really a dedicated energy, very detail oriented. As you mentioned, super duper organized, which I think is quite a gift. It's definitely something I am working on. It's a challenge, it's a growth area in my own life. Um, and Virgo, what's interesting about Virgo, even though they're really good at making things happen, one thing I pick up intuitively about Virgo is they're also really good at letting things go.
Mhm.
I think it's that mutable side of them, that more adaptable side. And I think it also speaks to Virgo's ability to know that when we want to call in more, we have to make space for it first. So,
Yes.
like, Virgo's great for clearing out the clutter. right?
Right.
Virgo is great for going through your closets, for, what I need, which is to go through my studio and completely get rid of stuff that I'm not using.
Right. And mental clutter as well too,
Yes. Ooh,
because
yeah.
Virgo is ruled by Mercury, which is all about the mind. So
So
it's really about getting like, let's get strategical about what we're spending our thought processes on.
yeah.
I don't need to be thinking about this so much. Let's move on.
Yeah. And that I think that being strategical, getting into the strategy, that is one of the biggest gifts of Virgo in particular. Um, so with this particular new moon in Virgo, I think anytime we have a new moon in Virgo, there's going to be a little bit of like, what do you want to create? I mean, every new moon has a little bit of what do we want to create. I think every new moon also has a little bit of like a reset button to it as well. Like we're starting fresh, new
New
cycle.
cycle.
Yeah, kind of like the etch a sketch, and you're clearing out the palette, and yeah, and so we can start new. And with that Virgo influence, there could be a lot of influence around taking action, but planning and then taking aligned action. So while Aries might have us just like acting all over the place
Go.
because we're so like fiery and fired up, Virgo is going to be more grounded in its approach to taking action. And that's really where that alignment comes in. And for me, alignment is about resonating with what we're doing, feeling a sense of inner resonance with what we're doing on the exterior. So for me, doing things that are in alignment is not always necessarily doing the things that are on my to-do list. It's really about what is my soul asking for right now, and am I providing for it? Am I taking the actions that my soul is asking for? And I think sometimes we have more availability for that than others. And I believe what I'm getting is that this particular new moon is a really beautiful portal for that, for feeling into our co-creative powers, for feeling into our abilities to plan and strategize and create the life that we actually want to live.
Yes. And something else we actually didn't mention about Virgo energy is it also rules being of service.
Mm.
So serving others and serving ourselves. It also rules health and wellness, taking care of ourselves. And so what you're saying really resonates because it's aligning with, not necessarily what am I supposed to do in order to get X, Y, and Z, but aligning with who you are so you can take care of yourself so that you can then have your cup filled to take care of the people around you.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like I actually had a really good example of this yesterday. I had a busy day. I was starting one of my group coaching programs. It was the first day. And so we got done, and I felt like I had all these emails to do, all this planning to do for the rest of the week. And I was just like, oh, I could spend the next 3 hours on my computer and still not be done with all the things I need to do. And then my husband came around. He's like, you want to take kayaks to the lagoon? And I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
that is exactly what I want to do. But I
Yes.
had to have like a little bit, like I had a little bit of almost like a war between like my brain and like my shoulds and my responsibilities
Mhm.
and like what I actually wanted to do, which was go play with my family on kayaks in the lagoon,
Right.
right? So I'm really proud to say that I put all the work aside and I went to play on kayaks on the lagoon with my family, and it was wonderful and just what I needed. Um, and yes, I have a little bit more work to do today, but that's okay.
You have more energy to approach it with.
Exactly. More energy to approach it with. Um, Now, one thing that is also coming through a lot with this Virgo new moon is actually how we move through challenges,
Mm,
how we respond to, react to, and take aligned action, even in the face of challenges. We spoke a lot about challenges in our last the Aquarius full moon video as well, Sarah, because of that Saturn Jupiter conjunction that was happening. And with this new moon, Saturn is in direct opposition to the sun and the moon in Virgo. And with that kind of direct opposition, it'll feel a little bit like we're facing roadblocks. We're hitting up against either walls of our own making or just things in life that are just kind of slowing things down. Mercury will be stationed direct by the time of this new moon. Um,
Still
So
in shadow, but
yeah,
direct, moving
but it will
forward.
be direct. But Saturn is still really activated around this particular lunation. And so that is bringing forth this energy of like, hey, here's reality. Like, here's your dreams, and here's reality, or certain limitations, or just challenges themselves. Now, Saturn in itself is not negative. And the challenges that Saturn brings forward are not negative. In fact, universe doesn't really look at anything as positive or negative. That's very much a human perception because we have things that feel good and things that don't feel good. So,
Right.
it's real for us, but it's not real from the perspective of the universe. So with Saturn, it's really important for us to note that it's always about growth. It's always about recognizing what the reality is, recognizing what these limitations are so that we can push through them, so that we can grow from this place. I don't know if push through them is exactly the right word, but more like recognize them and see it as opportunity for growth.
Right.
And I feel like that's coming through a lot with this particular new moon in Virgo. And another thing that keeps coming up intuitively for me is this sense of like, yeah, make a lot of plans. Virgo and Saturn both love to make plans. They are strategic AF, and they literally are like, give me a piece of paper and a pen and like, let me make the
A
plans.
list.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
list, the plans, and we can do anything with that, which is fantastic because it gives us a lot of empowerment. But there's something coming through with this particular lunation that's like, make sure that you can let your plans be mutable, be adaptable, be flexible, because you can make all the plans you want, and then the universe can just laugh in your face about it.
It's gonna.
And sometimes it will. And other
Yeah.
times you'll make the plans and you'll take the actions, and the universe will meet you every step of the way.
Right.
And one is not necessarily better than the other because both opportunities give us a chance to
Information.
grow and to evolve. And that's always what the soul wants, is constant growth, evolution, expansion. So, one of the things, like, yes, recognize your challenges or growth opportunities. Yes, still make plans and still take aligned actions regardless of that. I really feel like when and I think Virgo energy really speaks to this, there's a level of trust
Mm.
that really comes in when we know, like, hey, this is something I want to create, and here are the steps I'm going to take to create it, regardless of what happens. And I know you and I were actually just talking before we came on here, talking about, as an entrepreneur, content creator, all these things, sometimes it can feel like, why am I putting all this time and energy into this? Like, is anyone even watching? Does anyone even care? But what we kind of came to the conclusion of in our own conversation was recognizing it's the actions we take that
Mm.
are the actual outcome we think we desire. It is the actions we take and the energy we go to in taking those actions that is the outcome.
Mm.
Everything else is kind of a distraction in a lot of ways.
My heart fluttered when you said that. Like, so spot on.
Yay, resonance.
Yes.
So what I keep getting for this full moon is like, trust where you're at, trust your alignment, trust where you feel called to take action, and trust that your actions are taking where you want to go, regardless of what's happening around you, regardless of it. Trust in that, because when we take those actions with trust, it is literally a conversation with the universe that I have faith,
Mm.
that I know you will meet me, that if I take the step, the stone will be under my foot, right? And that is a really powerful place to be. So that's some of what I was getting
Yeah.
for like, the energies of this. We talked a little bit about Saturn, but I know we have some other major transits happening with this
Yeah.
new moon. So, Sarah, I'd love for you to share more.
Well, I love the messages you're getting about taking action because our good friend Mars is forming a square with Neptune on the same day as this new moon. Now, this is a conversation of tension, which tends to bring a little bit of frustration. Mars is the planet of action, the way we assert ourselves, our desires, and the way we handle conflict. Neptune is associated with confusion, illusion, escapism, but also imagination and spirituality, right? Because they're kind of things that are not here in this reality. It also rolls anxiety and overwhelm.
Mm.
So when these two things are having a conversation of tension, what it can do is it can have us maybe ready and having an urge to take action, but we don't know what direction to move in. And so with this Virgo energy, Virgo's ready to, get organized, do things. They kind of, I don't want to say contradict, but they don't, it's a little bit of push-pull energy.
Yeah, they confuse each other a little bit.
They confuse each other. So I think the best thing to do, like you said, is yes, make a plan. And I think it's a great time to really tap into your mind, get organized, but use that plan as a baseline,
Yeah.
as opposed to this is what we have to do. This is what has to happen. It's really just a baseline for you to check out and be like, oh, this happened. Cool. This didn't happen. Okay, let's change it a little bit. And just somewhere to check in about what's happening, what's not happening, not checking in with judgment
Yeah.
just as a like yes, no, okay, let's adjust this a bit,
Yeah.
right? So Mars square Neptune can bring in a sense of burnout.
Hmm.
Um, whether it's like long-term burnout or just for a couple days or so, but that burnout can be exacerbated by doing things out of your means. So
Yeah.
if you don't have 100% to give that day, don't give 100%.
Right.
Even though we should, could, whatever.
Yeah. Don't shit
Because
all
that
over yourself.
Yeah, right? It's going to lead to a deeper sense of exhaustion than it normally would
Yeah.
with this transit. So what this transit is asking, this new moon is asking us to do is to be okay with meeting ourselves where we're at,
Mhm. Which is an
and
alignment too.
which is what?
Alignment as well.
Yes,
To like
exactly.
really align your awareness with where you're actually at. Like that's alignment also.
Exactly.
I just
Exactly. It's
just wanted to
not
state that, but
It's true though. It's not supposed to being, oh, this is what I should do. I really need to organize the entire garage today. It's like maybe you really have the urge to, but instead of pile dumping everything in the middle of the garage so it's a mess for the next 2 months, guilty, then yeah, just start with one shelf. Just approach it with, oh, if I just dump everything, then it'll get done. Like it won't. So
and
just be
then you have to
okay
look at
with
a pile of
that.
mess until you do something about
Girl, I think a lot of us have really been there. Just don't do
it.
that. Don't do that with this new moon because you're gonna really not be pleased. Or you know what? If you do, then something else will come. You'll walk into your garage, see that mess, and it'll really remind you, like,
Yeah.
I have too much stuff.
Yeah.
So either way, we're always gonna learn from it.
Maybe you'll end up doing a
Um,
big donation.
yeah, right? Exactly. Um, the main takeaway from that is starting anywhere is great.
Yeah.
Literally any sort, even if it's just the list.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
fine. That's fine.
This is a great
Now,
new moon for making lists.
yeah, exactly.
Making a
Just do
plan to
that.
make a plan.
Even if you make a plan and like in 3 days it becomes irrelevant,
Right.
that's fine. At least you know what you're not doing. That's
I
fantastic.
love that. At least you know what you're not doing.
That's information.
It can bring clarity.
Exactly. I do want to say there is a supportive transit
Yay.
with this new moon, and that is Mercury trine Chiron. Okay, so Mercury rules Virgo, so it's all about the mind. So, using our mind, communicating, writing, all of these things can be super therapeutic and bring a small sense of clarity into the confusion we may be experiencing with the Neptune stuff. May not be total clarity, but making that list, writing that list could bring you somewhere.
Yeah.
Also, journaling, I really recommend journaling during this time. Journaling can be really restorative, or having conversations with people, talking to somebody about an issue, your therapist. All of those can prove to be super supportive and super helpful during this time. And again, you might not get to the end all answer, but you could start to creep a little bit closer.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm really feeling that journaling prompt in particular. And I think part of that is, Virgo is an earth sign, but it's very heady for an earth sign because it is
Yeah.
ruled by Mercury, as you
Yep.
described. One of the things I love about journaling, especially if you're going to do more like brain dumps, or as Julia Cameron mentions in the book The Artist's Way, like the morning pages or evening pages where you literally just free flow
Right.
right for like 3 pages, is what you do is you take that energy that's moving around your head and you physically manifest it out of your body by
Yes,
putting it
that's a
on
good
paper, which
practice
I
for
think
this.
is a very Virgo action to
Yeah.
take. Uh,
Yeah, that's a great one.
yeah, so I think that really resonates as well. So in terms of like working with the energy of this new moon, do you have, I mean, you mentioned the journaling can be a really good suggestion, making plans, coming up with some strategies, not necessarily seeking full clarity, but just making some plans for like the next right step. The next right step. Okay, and here comes Frozen 2 again. We were talking about this earlier, and I was telling Sarah she has to watch the movie Frozen 2. I will repeat that to you all too. If you haven't watched Frozen 2, highly recommend. But there's this whole song that's like, do the next right thing, the next right thing, the next right step. And
Mm,
there's this element of just trusting. If I step, the earth will meet me, right?
mm,
Like if I put my foot out, there will be something for me to step upon. I really feel that strongly with this particular
yes.
new moon energy. So, something that you can journal on that can be a really expansive place to journal from for this new moon is if I knew failure wasn't an option, like if I couldn't even fail, if I knew the universe would meet me, what would I do? What would I do? And I'm not saying you have to go out and do all those things, but just journal on it. Start letting yourself dream in that way. And
Yeah.
you may get a lot of clarity about what you truly, authentically desire for yourself and your life, which is really what the moon wants us to do is find our own authenticity over and over and over again. So
Yes.
some suggestions I have, the intentions around this new moon certainly can be around trusting yourself, trusting where you're at, trusting the challenges that are presenting as a necessary, valuable part of your life experience. And then in terms of manifestation, manifesting plans, you know, plans that are able to be switched around, moved, mutable plans. We'll use that same
Yes.
term that's
Yeah.
for Virgo. Manifesting some plans that help you take more aligned action in your life. Um, what else do you think would be good for manifesting for this new moon? I definitely feel like, and I mean, listen, I'm a Cancer sun, Cancer rising. I tend to go to emotions a lot. I know a lot of people like to manifest physical. Truth is, when we're manifesting, it is all emotional and energetic before we get to physical. So I find that working with the moon in particular, it's nice to manifest around emotions.
Yeah.
So again, for me, a big thing to manifest with this particular new moon is that self trust,
Yeah.
is that looking at challenges with a growth mindset, and just trusting your ability to meet them, your capacity to flow with the changes that are happening, and just
Yeah.
trust yourself and where you're at. Like that to me feels like the largest manifestation that we can have with this particular lunation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel like to me, I just keep getting messages about the mind and organizing the mind. You know, before we can take any action, we need to get really in touch with what's going on here, what's mental projections, as you've taught me, versus what you're really feeling. Because Neptune is brought into this. So there is that sense of spirituality and intuition. And it also gives us permission to dream. So when you talk about that question of what would happen if I didn't have the fear of failure, tap into that Neptune energy that's getting activated with this new moon and just dream. Don't worry about the how, don't worry about the steps to get there. But that's where I feel like we can use this Virgo energy as organizing our thoughts around the limitations, Saturn,
Mm-hmm.
that we may put on ourselves to be our authentic versions and to keep showing up for ourselves and for others.
That is so beautiful. I completely agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, friends. If you want more on the energies of this Virgo, I went to Aries for some reason, of this Virgo new moon on September 2nd or September 3rd, depending on where you're at. Please go visit the Moonblog. Sarah shares her astrological forecast there as well. I share more on the energies, more what I picked up intuitively. And we've got some little prompts in there for you. So we'll put it all down there below. And then please go and follow us on socials as well. You can follow me at ourinfinitenaturerachael and at intuitivemoonco. And you can follow Sarah over at hellafluidcollective. Like, comment, subscribe, save, do all the things. We're so happy to be here with you. Thank you so much for watching. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks for our next full moon. Ooh, and at that point, we'll be in eclipse season.
Girl.
So we
And
might
it's
have
in
a lot to talk
Pisces,
about.
so
Oh, yeah. Pisces.
tap into your emotions. Get
Yep.
prepped.
Full moon Pisces eclipse.
Let's go, baby.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in a few weeks. We'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching. Bye,
Thanks for
friends.
having me. Bye.